Hey guys, this is Gene Jensen, and my nose is running. Hey guys, this is Gene Jensen. It is time for another episode of In the Truck Again. Oh, well anyway, I'm on my way home from my MTB Slam for April, and I'm about 2 hours from the house, so I'm going to sit down. I'm going to talk about gear ratios. I've been getting a lot of questions lately, and I come to a realization that a lot of guys are pretty confused about what a gear ratio is and what are the different numbers and what they should use them for. So I'm going to try to try to simplify it a bit. So what I have here is I have 3 Okuma TCS reels. Okay, they're Helios TCS reels. I've got one in a 6.6 to 1, one in a 7.3 to 1, and one in an 8.1 to 1. So 3 different gear ratios. First of all, what is a gear ratio? Gear ratio is the number of times that spool turns around or makes a complete revolution for a 365-degree turn of the handle. So every one turn of the handle, how many times does the spool turn around? This is the 8.1 to 1. So every single time I turn the handle 365 degrees, this spool turns around 8.1 times. 6.6 to 1 is the same thing, 6.6 times. 6.6 to 1 turn of the handle. Okay, so that kind of helps you understand it. Now, let's talk about the lowest end. What do you do on a 10-speed bicycle when you're trying to get up a hill? Do you gear down to make it easier to give your bike more torque? Of course you do. So your lower gear ratios are for things that require a lot of torque, a lot of cranking. You know, things like an Alabama rig or a deep diving crankbait that will wear you out on a higher gear ratio reel. You can fish them on a higher gear ratio reel, but if you're going to fish them all day, you're better off using a lower gear ratio. So 4 point something and 5 point something. When you're thinking about gear ratios, think about just the first number. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and there's a 9 out there somewhere. So, you know, don't worry about the second number unless it's a higher number like the 6.6 to 1. You know, that 6.6 to 1 is about a high-speed reel for me. So, you've got a 4 and a 5, which are your low gear ratios, a 6 and a 7, or a 6 that is like a mid-range, a 7 is considered high-speed, an 8 is high-speed, and a 9 is out of this world, okay? So, but the higher you go, like that 9, will be very difficult to crank a deep diving crankbait. So what are the high gear ratios used for? High gear ratios are used to get the line back to you quickly or to catch up with a fish that's coming at you. So what do you use a high gear ratio for? Jigs, you know, bottom bouncing baits, Carolina rigs, things you're going to have to, you know, top water sometimes. I like a 7 to 1, you know, but you know, just something that you got to get the bait back to you quickly to make another cast, just to maximize your ability or your time on the water and maximize your chance to catch fish. But the one thing you got to realize is that gear ratio pretty much boils down to personal preference. I personally use for crankbaits, I use a 5. My best friend uses a 6 or a 7 to crank. He also uses a medium heavy jig rod to deep dive, you know, to crank deep diving crankbaits. I like a 5.3 to run with a moderate, you know, with a moderate action rod. Yeah, it's all a personal preference. I like high-speed reels almost exclusively. I'm getting away from the 6 to 1s because they're kind of mid-range, and I don't really do much stuff that's required for a mid-range. I guess the only thing I would use a 6 to 1 or 6.3 or 6.6 to 1 is a square bill crankbait because it doesn't have a whole lot of drag, and I want to cover a lot of water with it. And it's easier to slow down. You know, it's easier on you to slow down than to speed up anyway. So if I need to go slow with a square bill, I'm just going to slowly crank it. So think about gear ratio. Don't overcomplicate it is the thing I'm trying to say. Don't overcomplicate the gear ratios. Think 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, or 9. Low speed, mid-range, and high speed. What do you need to use them for? There's not a technique-specific gear ratio. It's all up to you and what do you like. Like I always say, introduce somebody to fishing, share my videos across Facebook and Instagram and all those other social media networks. Be sure to take somebody fishing. Enjoy teaching them how to fish and watch their smiles. And be sure to subscribe to my channel, like this video, and more importantly, get out on the water and catch some fish and have a great day. Thanks. Take care.